From undisclosed locations for reasons of security and insecurity, we present to you MnRTV Live Show. And tonight, inside the real Area 51, with our guest Donald Schmitt, who will be coming on at 8:15 p.m. And this is his book. It's a great book about Area 51, and he's going to be talking about that and Roswell and a whole lot of stuff as only as MnRTV. And tonight, I present to you my co-host, the one and the only, the madman, the coffee man, the hot man, Mario. How are you, Mario? And you know why I'm calling it the hot man, because it's boiling over here. It's humid.
Yes, it's stupidity, humidity, and this is the greatest thing is I'm using something to cool me down because we need to get cooled down, right? I like my 4 milks in my coffee.
I'm drinking my coffee that's been for half an hour. Now it's cool, but I need the energy still. I don't need no energy drinks because it's a hot, humid plus 42 with the humidity plus 42, and it's really hot outside. And right now, I wish I was in a bucket of pool of water.
But you know what? You know what? The viewers have to respect us because you know what? We're giving it all, right? We're giving it all today. It's like how much dedication. This is dedication right here at its best. Hot day outside, and we're still in here doing the show, trying to deliver what we know to the people out there.
And we have no AC over here. I'm in the dark right now, just with a fan, and hopefully they could see the book that's coming on. That's our guest inside the real Area 51. It's a great book. I've read it. I read it a months ago or something. Yeah, that's it. So anyhow, before my brain gets fried, let's get on with this show's been brought to you by the Montreal Anti-Illuminati Task Force, and let's get going with whatever it is that we do next.
All right. I'm going to turn it on over for everybody to see what you need to see, because that's the most important thing, next to us commenting on what we know and delivering the goods. Now, keep your fingers crossed, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies and everybody, that the show goes well, that there's no thunder outside, because you know when it's hot like this, thunder happens to strike, right? And then something happens to the show. So,
let's hope it's later.
All right, so now I'm going to be switching on over and giving the introduction. Well, it's luck, and we also got to rely on God himself to keep us safe and making the show run very well. All right, so now here we go. Here she is. Here's the MnR production, Mariolaur.blogspot.ca. The good Lord will protect us and make the show run real smoothly. But you know, he doesn't control technology. Technology is controlled by Satan. Anyhow, so here you see we started in 2006. Soon it's
10 years ago.
It's going to make 10 years in what, November?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so here, if you don't see deals, very simple. Just refresh or reload and you shall see it. And then right here, that's where everybody out there can participate and tell us comments, and most of all have questions for the guest. You could throw them right in there. We'll try and get through to them, right? And I'm ever excited to get our guest tonight, Mr. Schmitt, Donald.
Oh yes, definitely, Donald Schmitt. It's gonna be wonderful having him on our show. We have a lot of questions to ask him, and it's great. We read his book, and now we're gonna be talking live to him.
And so now we're going to get to the famous, well, the popular pictures of the week that are put on both Conspiracy Talk and Facebook, right? So yes. Here we go.
Sometimes the devil allows people to live a life free of trouble in order to keep them from turning to God. Well, I don't think that applies to us, does it?
No, but us, it's the opposite. Like, you know, when you believe in God, you will be put on those rocky roads, right?
Exactly. That's why I always have some kind of hassle going on. Nothing ever went really smoothly.
But it's okay because if it runs, it won't. Like here, life is like short, but eternally, life is long. So whatever bumpy ride we go through now, eventually the road will be smoother, right?
Yeah,
Well, I
for
mean,
sure.
when we go to the eternal life, the road will be smoother. But here on earth, it won't be smooth. There'll be lots of curves and like roller coaster ride. Suivant next.
What if I told you 60% of your taxes goes to the Vatican and the United Kingdom Queen, as the IRS is not a federal agency, and the 16th Amendment has never been ratified, and thus rendering the income tax unconstitutional. Your tax dollar fund government program, but is rather used by the IRS to be sent to the Department of Treasury to cover interest in the bonds it created and sold a Federal Reserve. Yes, it did.
And you know why this was popular? Because we haven't done a show in a couple of weeks, and it was the 4th of July came an Independence Day, and everybody, our good fellow Americans would think, oh, we're free, Independence Day. And right here, was there really independence? That you got to ask yourself these questions, ladies and gentlemen out there. Was there really independence? Are you
No,
really free? You're as free
no.
as Canadians, and you know we're not free up here, even though we think we're free. Right there, Rabbi?
That's right. We're not free. Nobody's free. Not on this prison planet. Not in this
No.
matrix that we live in.
And then they add us this, the the Euro Cup 2016 FIFA, right?
Yeah, right
in
there.
Paris.
Which we love watching soccer, the Euro Cup.
But this year I found it to be the weirdest Euro Cup ever. I never seen such weird tournament.
No, it's very discerning. But I'm sure our sports viewers know what we're talking about. We can't get into it too much, unfortunately.
No, we're not a sports show, but it's a big distraction. That's what all the ideas comes down to. All that was just a distraction. Speaking of distraction, how about deals right there? The Dallas false flag.
Yeah, the false flag operations done by the one and only the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati who causes false flag. It's terrible what happened over there, in Dallas. And I'm not going to read it to you folks, but it says it right there what it's all about. A news script, and get angry, and it's easy to manipulate and make bad choices, and it's a problem reaction solution scripted months ago. Indeed, united we stand, divided we fall. Yep.
That's what it's all about, right?
That's
it's about
right.
this. The united we stand, divided we fall. Well, they wanna divide us. We can't let them divide us. We need our brothers, our brothers, you know who they are.
Indeed.
Everybody is important out there. Anybody that with blood, you're all blood brothers. Let's not forget that. Remember, love is power. Hatred is defeat. Suivant next.
Eat as many of these as you can. Might as well smoke these too. But what you do, absolutely never touch this, is illegal. Don't forget to take plenty of this. Right there, everything what we're supposed to take and not supposed to take, and it's as if everything is the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but here they say eat lots of junk food and drink lots of crapolas and smoke cigarettes and take big pharma. But the most important one that say it's illegal is marijuana. You know why? Because marijuana is the key to reality. They say you're dozed off, but it's you're really in, reality. That's what they don't want. They don't want you to be in reality. Suivant next. I love this one.
Does it bother you that every time major political corruption is caught, something horrible happens to focus the public's attention elsewhere? Exactly. Well, with Hillary Clinton, with her email, what do? They do a false flag operation, and look what happens. An operation like that happens, and look what happens. Every time there's something, her or anybody, it's unreal of what happens, and it's major political corruption. It's caught because of the false flag operation. It's really funny. It's really funny how it happens, but it's done by the Illuminati, and we know all about it. So,
That and fear. Lots and lots of fear.
Fear. of getting bad grades, fear of losing a job, fear of the boss, fear of authority, fear of the law, fear of the truth, fear of being unconventional, and fear of immigration, fear of deadly viruses, fear of one's own independent thoughts, fear of being independent, fear of fear itself. Don't worry, all of this can be made right if we simply vote, work, pay taxes, and obey our filthy rich corporate and political rulers, all of whom have manufactured and amplified these fear factors in the first place. Fear factors serve them. So let's get back to the treadmill and vote. Yeah, right. I don't think so.
It's all about fear. But here on the MnRTV Live Show, we never have fear. Suivant next. Speaking of Independence Day.
Independence Day brings something that we like to pretend things exist when they don't. And exactly. And we saw the movie, and the first, let's just put it this way: the first one was a lot better.
Yeah, but this is the Independence Day, the day, not the movie. But we'll talk about the movie later on if we have time, or if everything goes well. Suivant next.
Yeah. Evolution, where half man and half monkey is science, but any other type of hybrid is mythology. Exactly. There's what's the first one? I don't know what the first one is.
I forget what it's called.
Second one. The
Centaur?
second one, I think, is a centaur.
Yeah.
Centaur. The other one, bull, is the beowulf, I think.
No. There's a word for him, and then the unicorn. Yeah, Minotaur. But I forget the first one. He also appears in the Bible. They bring him up in the Bible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forget what his name is. Maybe someone would know in the Chatango chat. All right. Suivant next. Here they are. Here, America not free because of these guys that are
behind the curtain.
Yes, they're behind the curtains.
And they're not even human. They're half humans. I'm sure they live long. They don't eat the same food we do. They don't breathe the same air we do, I think.
I don't know, but they're the ones. They're the real kings and queens. Well, kings of this world.
Well, yeah, to a certain degree, but they have the archons that they operate, that they answer to. You know, archons, which fallen angels, demons,
or Satan himself.
Satan himself.
Suivant.
Yes, okay. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln, and he wrote that years ago. Can you imagine?
It's so bad. People need to wake up. Suivant next.
The hardest walk you can make is alone. But it's the walk that will make you stronger. It will. At first, it might not appear if you're alone, but in the end, it will. It's going to be maybe the hardest walk you ever do. And it'll feel like you're going nowhere, but in the end, it'll make you stronger.
But we all have to walk together, you know, to be the wolf packs, right? Versus, because we have to go against them. The only way to fight them is...
It's almost as if we have to be an NWO wolf pack. You know what I'm saying? Okay, next. Right here's the conspiracy talk in Facebook, and the fastest growing conspiracy group on Facebook. I mean, we're always getting members. I mean, there's 46 new ones already. 46 new members. Wow. It keeps on growing and growing. And there's our show.
And if you people out there want to watch our show in the future, whenever we do one, it's always pinned here. Just click here and it'll take you to our beautiful blog. But you know what? I don't like spammers or government paid shills, trolls, or whatever. So
when they put pornography on it.
Yeah, we have to be extra vigilant to make sure that we don't just add anybody here in the conspiracy talk. And there's beautiful, our wonderful Chatango. So now we're going to be getting to the news of the week. The wonderful news of the week.
And it's going to be a doozy when we get it.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about what's really hot out there. And this here doesn't come to any surprise.
No, it doesn't. Bernie is a sellout. Sanders supporters blast him for endorsing Hillary Clinton. Yes, him and Hillary want to go up against Trump.
They're together, but I knew that they were together all this time, and everybody
look at Hillary looking at him. Look at Hillary looking at him. She's probably saying, you know, you better do it, you puppet. You better do what I tell you to do. That's good. You better be doing it. I picture her reading in her mind, right?
Yeah, but we knew that. But I knew that they were going to support. He was going to support Hillary Clinton.
I know.
A while ago. I don't know why she's freaking out. Honestly,
she's not freaking out. It's just a script. Democratic U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton looks at him as Senator Bernie Sanders endorses her during a campaign rally in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, U.S., July 12, 2016.
No, but the thing is I'm not saying her freaking out, but her supporters are freaking out, and his supporters are freaking out, and they're all freaking out. But we knew this. I knew that they were going to go together. Kind of like, what's his name? Cruz, Ted Cruz, with what's his name? Trump. No? Ted Cruz is going to go with Trump. So why would anybody out there be surprised at that? But anyhow, that's it for that. Anybody out there surprised, shocked?
I know.
Nobody,
exactly.
Nobody is. Shocked. That's okay. It's better not to shock anybody. All right, so we've on next. How about what the elites are up to? How about what them elites are up to right here?
Silicon Valley elites buying huge amounts of land for secret compounds. The nouveau riche are buying up huge amounts of land so they can build private compounds.
Now, are you surprised about these?
No, because something's happening, something's coming up, and they
know about it. They know about it.
And there's a shelter of some kind, nuclear build-out shelter.
In the mountains. It looks like it goes in the mountains.
And you know, all these things are connected, eh? It connects to Area 51 and also Dulce Base.
And that's where they hide.
Yes.
The elites are going to hide there.
According to Silicon Valley.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
The nouveau riche are buying up huge amounts of land so they can build private compounds to seclude themselves away from general public. Former Facebook product manager Antonio Garcia Martinez told The Telegraph that freshly minted millennials have set up private groups on the social network where they can discuss the pressing needs of the super rich, including where to buy private aviation and how to buy a bunch of land and put them in a trust so people don't realize they're amassed a compound and you can maintain your privacy. Martinez, author of the upcoming book about Silicon Valley, says that the higher-ups at Facebook have no sense of right or wrong and act like gangsters. Yes, gangsters, folks. That's what they're doing. It recently revealed that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is building a 6-foot wall around his $100 million property located at the Hawaiian island of Kauai. The feeling is, it's really oppressive. It's immense. Kauai resident Jai Hall told The Time. They do know something. For sure they know something. Economist Robert Johnson said the rich were making such purchases because they think they need a gateway from Ferguson-style riots that will erupt as a result of a widening wealth inequality. And the worst of it, virtually all developed countries since the 1980s.
Right.
I know. This is where the white people. It says, 99%. A fear of uprising from the 99%, said journalist Lynn Paramore after visiting one of the facilities in Indiana. I'd love to talk to this journalist and see how far they're afraid of the 99% uprising.
More and more they're afraid of what's happening.
Yeah, even millionaires. Yeah, millionaires also. Those they know
are the elites. Yes, they do know. And they want to, I'm telling you, they know. They know. They definitely know. what's coming, you know, because it's written in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
There's
But
been a lot of, yes, go on.
the thing is that what's going to, when World War III Armageddon happens, is that when there's going to be 99% are going to revolt, maybe, and the elite's going to be panicking out of the skies. Maybe the fallen angels will come. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's written in the Bible.
Or out of the sky. I mean, out of the either from the sky or from the ground. CERN. Let's talk a bit about CERN. CERN finds 4 new X particles. How big a deal is this?
There's always news on CERN, eh?
Yes. Yeah. Physicists at CERN have discovered a family of new exotic particles. Cathal O'Connell assesses what it means. And as we go down, what had just happened? Physicists at CERN have discovered 4 new telequark particles. Arrangement of 4 fundamental particles called quarks. The new particles are highly unstable, decaying almost immediately into other particles. There are now fundamental particles heralding a new era of physics, like the unexpected one recently hinted at, but rather are new combinations of previously known particles in the standard model of particle physics. The new particles are called exotic because they are made of 4 quarks. Quarks usually groups together in 2s and 3s. So what is it that they're opening up? I'm certain they're opening up a doorway, a gateway, a stargate to what is to come out of it, what hasn't already come out of it.
Maybe they want to close it like Ali Marzulli once said, remember?
Yeah.
Maybe it's been open and they want to close it, and that's what this thing is.
Well, actually, Aleister Crowley opened it up, and then he closed it, and then some of his students opened it in 47. Opening up the gate, and what happened after Roswell and all that stuff. But I would guess at 8:15, Donald Schmitt will be talking about it, about the real Area 51 and Roswell and a whole bunch of stuff. So, you know.
Yeah, and by the way, all the links I'm posting up is going to be appearing in the description.
Exactly.
You know? So you people out there can go and verify all these for yourself and see.
Exactly.
All right, the next one is about DNA.
DNA is moving forward in the battle for data storage of the future. DNA storage is moving forward in the race data storage in a world that is moving to files that constantly grow larger. Microsoft has announced that it has successfully packed 200 megabytes of data into DNA at once, a first in history. DNA storage getting closer. As we reported earlier, Microsoft has been looking to biologically resources for potential data storage solutions, and they bought 10 millions of strands of synthetic DNA from Twist Bioscience because they believe DNA is a highly capacity, highly efficient long-term storage option that can safely store 100 million terabytes per gram. For now, it looks like DNA is moving forward at one of the top contenders in the battle for data storage. Microsoft has announced that they will have successfully packed 200 megabytes of data into DNA all at once, a feat that no one has done before. And I do wonder how much they're going to charge for that. Because it's not going to be free, because nothing from Microsoft is free.
That's for sure it's not free. But the thing is, why is Microsoft getting involved with DNA? Do you know what this is coming to for me? It's like quantum computing. Quantum computing and DNA, they're mixing it all up. Come on, man, this doesn't make sense. Why is Microsoft wanting this? And I believe that Microsoft is a demonic, is the demonic, satanic creation, right? I know we're using it, but we're using it against.
Yeah, but I know Microsoft wants to do now. They want to do a subscription based to Windows 10 enterprise users. So I'm sure that later on they're going to do it to other people, like people that have Windows 10 Home. I see it coming since they don't want to release any more Windows versions. But that's a whole different topic. We could do a whole different subject, a whole different show on that, you know?
Yeah, but Microsoft is making money off of Windows 10 from all the ads. That's why you see all the ads. That's how they're making their money, you know? All right, the next one is Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go is a government surveillance psyop conspiracy. Yeah.
Now, I found this on Google Plus as conspiracy talk. I don't know if it's the same thing of one you're
Yes, the
talking
same
about.
one. Yes, the same one. Less than a week ago, Pokemon Go launched our streets already filled with packs of full phone-wielding, wheel-catching zombies. They're robbing our teens, filling our churches with sinners, and tricking our children into exercising. But worst of all, Pokemon Go is turning all of us into an army of knights in service of the coming new world order. Yes, right there. Lots of apps have sketchy privacy policies. That's nothing new. But the first set of alarms goes off as soon as you realize the Pokemon Go policy does seem a bit more liberal than most, because not only are you giving Pokemon Go access to your location and camera, you're also giving it full access to your Google account, assuming you use that to sign in. That's one section of the privacy policy in particular that seems to be getting the conspiracy theorists of the world up in arms, which Reddit user Homer Simpson calls very Orwellian. Yes, I'm glad I don't use Pokemon. Do you?
No, because I'm already spending too much time on this phone and being connected. I don't need this. And but you know, one thing they forgot to mention, the GPS. Once the GPS is on, they know exactly where you are.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
And they want you to turn on the GPS. I don't know if it says anything about that here, but once you turn on your GPS, and I don't want to have my GPS turned on, like apparently that's another thing with Windows 10. Your GPS is always on.
That's crazy.
Apparently, yes, from what I was told. Look into it.
But the thing is, if they're tracking where I am, they know I'm always here because I don't bring my laptop anywhere.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. They want to see if you're home or if you're out. And if you're out, they're like, oh man, you know.
But yeah, exactly. Like you know, if I go to Dulce base, I'm not gonna bring my laptop. That's for sure, because they'll know. It's bad enough, you know.
Tell you, we're imprisoned with all these. Now the next one is about aspartame.
Aspartame is not safe. Here's how you have been tricked into thinking otherwise. The effects of aspartame are documented by the FDA's own data. Did you know that aspartame, a cancer and brain tumor causing substance 200 times sweetener than sugar, was banned by the FDA twice before Donald Rumsfeld nefariously helped get it approved for human consumption? That SOB, how dare he does that? Ever wonder why and how the chemical addictive rejected multiple times over fears of cancer and brain tumors become legal? And there's a video right there explaining it all. And it's a great video indeed, I'm sure. The tainted history, how aspartame was declared safe. In 1965, one of the chemists at GD Searle, a pharmaceutical company, accidentally discovered aspartame while trying to create a cure for stomach ulcers. Searle decided to put the discovery through a testing process to get approved by the FDA. After reviewing the testing data, the FDA approved Searle's food addiction application for aspartame on July 26, 1974. However, after John W. Olney and James S. Turner asserted that aspartame might cause brain damage, resulting in a mental retardation and endorphin dysfunctional of both, they objected to the use of aspartame in foods, particularly those foods consumed by children, were a target of the proposed ban. Consequently, an audit of several clinical methods was carried out, which revealed sloppy research and different discrepancies in its testing process. As a result, in 1975, the FDA formally stated that the regulation authorized the marketing of aspartame, observing that Searle provided an adequate study of the FDA to expedite the approval of aspartame. Reportedly, that Searle violated Title 18, Section 1001 by falsifying data, and that Searle's testing ran into problems, and instead of correcting them, Searle covered the problems up.
So
I don't
anyways,
think
we won't get into it, but you know it's dangerous, right?
Yes, it is.
I mean, and ants love sweetness, and they stay away from aspartame. So, go figure. Go figure. Why would we wanna have aspartame? You know that's as bad as fluoride and chemtrails. It's like garbage. All right. So now, what you want to talk about soon before, or you
We
spoke
had
about
20,
sooner?
we had 20 years to prepare. So did they. Independence Day, Resurgence, now playing. I seen this movie, and yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and we're gonna be briefing it up. Mario, would you care to start?
I prefer the first one with Will Smith. This
Like I
movie,
said,
I don't know. I don't know, man. It was like good, but there's nothing new under the cover, you know? I don't know. I liked it for the action, but there was nothing there. Aside from that, there was, I don't know, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there was a probe that went in, and I knew it was something good that came through, and they shot it down like all Hollywood movies do, right? And
and
one thing I've noticed, okay, there was a female president in this movie. What is
yes,
that? What are they trying to say? That's the only thing that really gave me something to think about in this movie.
well, yeah, there's a female president in the movie. So what does that make you think of why? And Hillary being the next female president. Is it a forethought of what's to happen with the Hillary and besides with the aliens?
And the aliens, they came back even stronger and better. But well, there was a queen alien. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't recommend people see this. I don't know.
I prefer the first one.
Yeah, well, we both prefer. Everybody prefers the first one, but
I, I don't think it's doing too well in theaters anyhow.
no, no, it's not. Nobody's talking about it like they spoke about it when it first came out. You know?
Yeah,
Okay. This when we speak about UFOs, you know what's happening, you know what's coming, you know what's around the
exactly.
corner.
That's officially coming. Yes. NASA accused of cutting live feed of mysterious UFO, and this is brand new news right there.
Exactly 12 p.m. today, right? July
Yeah.
13.
U.S. UFO spotters may have caught a UFO entering the Earth's atmosphere before the NASA live feed from the International Space Station was cut, and conspiracy theorists are having a ball, claiming it's all part of a NASA cover-up. In the video posted on YouTube by UFO hunter Street Cap 1, you can see what appears to be an object descending down to Earth, and the feed stops just before the object can enter. Some are saying the object spotted on July 9th may be the Chinese space station Tiangong-1 returned to Earth, or it may simply be a meteor. Remember, a UFO is an unidentified flying object. This could well be a meteor or the like. What makes it interesting was that the camera cut off when the UFO seemed to stop, wrote Street Cap 1 on his UFO page. However, this isn't the first time the ISS live stream has abruptly stopped before the unexplained occurrence has happened. Last year, one object was spotted slowly ascending into space before the feed was interrupted. Alien enthusiasts often accuse NASA of switching off its ISS live feed as mysterious objects approach the Earth's atmosphere. NASA, of course, denied it by cutting off the live ISS transmission when unidentified objects are caught on camera, but added the stream can sometimes be lost due to technical difficulties. While live streaming from the ISS. How convenient technical difficulty, boys. That's what they would say, right?
Yeah. And here they ask a question. Do you believe in UFOs? That's a question for everybody out there. Anybody out there believe?
I put the third one. You?
Yeah, they're already amongst us. And they're coming from underground.
They never really left.
Yeah, I wonder what they're planning next. Well, you know, they're going to say that aliens have been amongst us all this time, perhaps.
or that they discovered alien life. You know, and I'm not talking about microbes and germs and stuff like that.
Well, they claim that there's alien life on Mars.
Or
They saw
entities.
stuff on Mars.
Yeah, like alien,
So
like entities. Disclosure. And I do wonder if Hillary's gonna if she becomes president, she'll disclose anything. Probably disclose stuff we already know.
or she'll just lie again about it.
But yeah, apparently each president has said that. Most of them have said that. But speaking of which, we're gonna be getting our guest Don Schmitt, and he'll be talking about Roswell and a whole lot more when Trish comes back. I think I hear Trish coming.
Yes, you do, and she wants in, and she wants in right away because she's all excited of being on the show as usual. You know, like we're excited, and the guests are excited, and you folks out there watching the show are excited. So don't go anywhere because the best part's gonna come when we get Don Schmitt on, right there, Robert?
That's right. Don't go anywhere, boys.
All right, so here she is. Here's Trish.
Don Schmitt. Donald R. Schmitt is the former co-director of the J. Allen Hynek Center for UFO Studies, where he served as Director of Special Investigations for 10 years. Prior to that, he was a Special Investigator for the late Dr. J. Allen Hynek and the Art Director for the International UFO Reporter. Schmitt graduated from MATC with a degree in Commercial Art and graduated cum laude from Concordia University with a degree in Liberal Arts. He is presently taking graduate courses in criminal justice. Schmitt is the author of dozens of articles about UFOs, as well as the co-author of 2 best-selling books, A UFO Crash at Roswell, Avon 1991, best-selling Witness to Roswell, New Page, New Jersey, 2007, and The Truth About the UFO Crash at Roswell, published by M. Evans, 1994. He is also the author of Roswell, The Chronological Pictorial, from Moonset Entertainment Group. Don has led and organized the 3 only archaeological dig projects at the actual Roswell crash debris field. They were conducted in 1989, 2002, and 2006. The second effort became a central theme of their highest-rated show up till that time in the 10-year history of the SCIFI channel, The Roswell Crash. Startling new evidence, which also resulted in the book The Roswell Dig Diaries, of which he was a contributing author. Schmitt is an exciting university lecturer and internationally considered one of the best investigators in this field. He has spoken 100 of times in cities and countries around the globe, most notably Battelle Institute. He has been interviewed frequently on TV, radio, and in print, including Oprah, Peter Jennings, CBS 48 Hours, Paul Harvey, Larry King Live, Montel Williams, Menko Muller, Kevin Matthews, Art Bell, George Neary, Shirley MacLaine Show, FOX Good ALA, NPR, Mutual Broadcasting Network, CNN Investigates, SCIFI Investigates, Disney Channel, The Travel Channel, Sci-Fi Channel, BBC, Learning Channel, Today Show, NBC, ABC News, CBS Morning News, AP, UPI, CNN News, Sonia Liv, Jim Bohannon, Morton Downey Jr., Jerry Doyle, Alan Handelman, John Boy and Billy, Time, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Popular Science, Spin, Blade, New York Times, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Philadelphia Inquirer, San Francisco Chronicle, Milwaukee Journal, Albuquerque Journal, Popular Science, and Omni Magazine. M.R. Schmitt was an on-set consultant at Paramount Studios on one episode of the popular Roswell TV series and was a UFO consultant to NBC's Unsolved Mysteries. He also appeared with Sally Kellerman in the pilot episode of Greetings from the Unknown. He had the grand experience of traveling a 31-city speaking tour mainly with actor William Shatner and occasionally other Star Trek stars in 199,496 produced by Star Night Productions, which led to his being a guest of honor in 1996 at Dragon Con held in Atlanta, which is the second largest science fiction convention in the world. M.R. Schmitt also sings in a highly acclaimed choral group which has had engagements at the Milwaukee Repertory, Milwaukee Auditorium, Shower Theater, St. John's Cathedral, Julio Basilica, and Carroll College. Featured concerts have been with Midland College of Iowa, the Kettle Moraine Symphony, and the Waukesha Symphony performing the works of Handel, Du Bois, Mozart, Beethoven, and Schubert. The basis of his research and consultation has been the theme of many documentaries including the highly acclaimed UFO Secret, the Roswell Crash, two-time British Academy Award, BAFTA, winner producer, John Purdy, as the Roswell Incident, Roswell, the Real Story, Roswell, Cover-Ups and Close Encounters, UFOs, 50 Years of Denial, award-winning Roswell, the UFO Uncover-Up, and hosted the production of the X Chronicles. He wrote and narrated the audio CD UFO Crash at Roswell, and audio documentary, Caroline Records, 1997. He has also produced and co-starred with actor John Delancey in the live theatrical radio drama Roswell, The Unheard Broadcast, Prosaic Pictures 2000. By far his greatest achievement was the Golden Globe Best Picture nominated motion picture Roswell, which was based on the first book. Besides consulting on the movie, he made a cameo appearance. Presently, he is a contributing writer for UFO Magazine and on the board of directors for the International UFO Research Museum.
Thank you there very much there, Trish. You know, it's always beautiful having you on, hearing your voice, you know, just talking and saying all what you need and what you know, right?
It sure is. Yes, it sure is to get Trish on. You know, she had a whole bunch of information about Donald Schmitt, and yeah, so we're going to be getting him on through the phone because unfortunately his computer went kablink, so we can't get him via Skype. We're going to have to call him, and I have to do it through that very soon. And that's his website right there.
Well, I'm not showing his website, but oh yeah, I am showing his website.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Donna, welcome to the MnRTV Live Show.
Well, good evening, Robert. How are you?
I'm good. Would you care to tell us a bit about yourself for our viewers, because they're very excited to have you on our show?
Well, thank you. I was formerly a special investigator for the late Dr. Mariolaur, who was a consultant to the Air Force Project Blue Book for 19 years. And then I served for 10 years as Director of Special Investigations, the Center for UFO Studies in Chicago. And I'm presently the author or co-author of 9 books, 6 of them bestsellers. Our first book, UFO Crash at Roswell, was made into the Golden Globe nominated Best TV Picture Roswell, starring comic opera Martin Sheen and Dwight Yoakam. We've done 4 archaeological digs at the Roswell crash site in 1989, and I'm also one of the founders of the International UFO Museum and Research Center in Roswell, New Mexico.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing that you were actually able to go. Have you been to Roswell many times?
Oh, I was at the last, and my PC crashed on Monday, so they had to take it in. I should get it back hopefully by Monday, but there went my Skype camera and my Skype hookup. So
Okay. All right. So getting back to it, the question was, have you ever been at Roswell, and what have you seen there?
well, given that I'm one of the founders of the museum, and given the extent of the investigation, where we've interviewed to date over 600 people, directly or indirectly involved, I've been to New Mexico and more specifically Roswell about 170 times in the last 28 years. Become practically my second home.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. You actually been there 127 times. Are you able to just? Oh, 170 times. Wow, that's wonderful. That's amazing. Are you able to tell us more, like how is it down there? What can you see?
Well, it's called the land of enchantment for a reason, because the weather extremes alone, from the highest mountain peaks where they'll have heavy snow, and there are beautiful ski hills and snowmobiling, and then throughout the arid, the desert region, the high desert of central New Mexico. It's rich in history, Billy the Kid, Pat Garrett, and the Lincoln County Range Wars, and then certainly its military history. I'm amazed whenever I'm, especially lecturing on the college circuit, and very often with the faculty in the audience, I'll ask, where was the first atomic bomb detonated? And invariably, most of the people will shout out Japan. Well, it was first detonated, first tested in New Mexico, about 150 miles west of Roswell. And you have all the atomic research that continued thereafter at Los Alamos, New Mexico. You had all the rocket testing. In fact, the true father of modern rocketry, Robert Goddard, was born in Roswell, and he conducted most of his research there in that little town. And then you had the first atomic bomb wing that had dropped the 2 bombs on Japan. They were headquartered at Roswell. That was the 509 Bomb Squadron. You had all the captured German V-2 rockets, which were tested at the White Sands Proving Grounds, just north of Alamogordo, New Mexico. You have numerous military bases. You have the Walker Field in Roswell. You had Cannon in Clovis, New Mexico. You had Kirtland in Albuquerque, and then you have Holloman in Alamogordo. So just steeped in rich history, rich military history, and truly a beautiful space.
I have your book, Inside the Real Area 51, and it just really explains exactly what happened, like Area 51. And I know some people, secretaries, probably were like silenced, or they didn't want to talk till they were near their deathbed, if I correctly remember that. And didn't they have to type out stuff about aliens, like back then we had no real computers, and they were told to keep quiet and shut up about it?
That's true, but keep in mind, the book is the aftermath of what transpired in Roswell in July of 1947. After they shipped everything out, after everything was sent out for testing and analysis to figure out what this unusual wreckage, all this strange debris was, and what these bodies represented. They didn't go to Area 51 because 51 did not even exist until about 8 years thereafter, around 1955. And what happened at Roswell is that everything went to Wright Field, Wright-Patterson in Dayton, Ohio. And that's where they had the Foreign Technology Division. And Foreign Technology would test all of the, our enemy hardware that we would recover through, just the spy networks, or even through engagement in times of war. Much of the Nazi German technology, the Japanese technology, even the Russian technology that we recovered after World War II, it all went to Wright-Patterson in Dayton, Ohio. So here you had this craft of unknown origin that crashes outside of Roswell in July of 1947. And the irony, for those that still maintain that it was something conventional, that it was something as mundane as a weather balloon with a radar reflector kite, as the government still assures us as of today, why did this have to go on to Wright-Patterson for testing and analysis? Especially if it was constructed of very off-the-shelf materials, which would comprise a weather balloon device. So there is a total disconnect right there. But the wreckage, the remains, and I'm talking specifically the bodies, all went from Roswell to Wright-Patterson, in Dayton, Ohio. And everything was pretty well cleared out in the early 80s at Wright Pat. So much of the speculation is today that Area 51 may indeed have been one of the recipients of some of this technology. And that's where there's ongoing testing. And witnesses describe that we have been successful in some of the attempts at reverse engineering that advanced technology.
Have you ever seen any bodies or anything like this when you went to Area 51?
Well, you can't get in Area 51. As far as for all of the attempts, it is still one of the most secured bases, one of the most secured areas as far as even commercial overflight, that you can't even fly over 51. So the very thought that anybody is able to just flash a badge or have credentials of any sort, even presidents have complained that they do not have clearance to go onto the Area 51 facility. So we have to always take with a large grain of salt whenever we hear anybody make claims of seeing things while working or even accidentally at such a facility. If they truly are conducting covert, secret research and experimentation on future aircraft design, it would be off limits to most everybody unless they had the highest of clearances to even work at such a base.
But all of this that's been happening, like people always talk about Area 51. What did they say? Like what would the people say? Like the people that are asked that work there about Area 51, you know, because you see it on the X-Files. Oh, it's an alien base. It's this, it's that. There's UFOs. You know, like is there a protocol that they would have to that they would be told to say if people ask questions?
Well, certainly the most famous whistleblower from Area 51, and it was just 30 years ago, would be Robert Lazar, who would claim that he was an astrophysicist working as far as state-of-the-art new technologies, new aircraft prototypes, and his claim that he actually observed, that he witnessed specific reverse engineered saucer technology, the sport model, as he would call it, or as it was called by others that he described. And the problem with people such as Lazar, that as we've witnessed with probably an even more famous whistleblower, and that being Edward Snowden, that whether one believes that Snowden, for example, is a hero or a traitor, that when you are a true whistleblower revealing government secrets, you have to flee the country. You become a target, not only within the United States, but also for our enemies, so to speak, because you're demonstrating that you know sensitive information. And in contrast, Robert Lazar was freely able to talk. He was never really questioned by the authorities. He certainly was never arrested and threatened in any sense of the word. So I guess it comes back to when there's a whistleblower regarding Area 51, or even in general UFOs, it's almost as though the government is putting out disinformation, that they have a plant, they have someone who's going to spread disinformation, either to see how the public is going to react. Maybe they're testing the waters at times. See if we can handle the revelation, if we can handle the very notion that we have captured flying saucers, captured UFOs that were reverse engineering. Or maybe it's again just to obfuscate, just to further confuse the public as to what's going on, because after all, UFOs at least for me, are one of the biggest cover-ups of all time.
If not, if it's not the cover-up of the century. Now, someone's asking me a question about memory metal. Now, can you explain, is that some kind of a metal that's UFO alien technology that's been recovered in the 1947 Roswell crash?
Principal materials that was described to us by literally dozens of first-hand witnesses associated with the crash, whether civilian, and then we're talking about the ranchers, the hired hands, and then even law enforcement, police, state police. I can think of a fireman, and then once the press became involved, the media, and then beyond that, the military witnesses as well, and they're all describing, you know, it's specifically one type of the wreckage, one type, and there are really 4 to 5 types of wreckage associated with the crash. And the 4 principal ones that we continue to search for when we have our archaeological projects. The first one being the paper-thin-like material, metal-like in its appearance, but yet this was nearly indestructible. It was practically weightless in your hands. You couldn't cut it, you couldn't burn it. And the acetylene torch had no effect on it, and even attempts to fire, shoot a firearm into it. It didn't even scratch the material. There were I-beam sections with unusual hieroglyphic-like symbology that ran the lengths of each of these metal-like structures. And then there was silken strands of material that you could hold a light up to one end, and the light would emit out the opposing end. Well, they're describing obviously fiber optics back in 1947. Yet fiber optics wouldn't even come into development until around 1970. So what the listener is referring to, the memory material, is what we still refer to as our holy grail. It's the one type of material that if we should ever acquire a piece of such material, it would prove Roswell, it would prove UFOs overnight, because this was the same type of metal-like material, nearly indestructible, but you could fold it, you could crease it, you could crumble it up into a ball, and if you placed it down onto a table,
wow,
it would smooth right out. It would just flow like water right before your eyes. Well, we don't even have such material today, and yet this is what dozens of the witnesses of Roswell have described. And we also find it rather ironic that, getting back to even Wright-Patterson once again, that within a couple of months after Roswell, they assigned Battelle Institute just down the road in Columbus, Ohio, with the project assignment of developing self-healing metal. In other words, metal that would return back to its original condition, original shape and size. And this was, again, right after Roswell. Coincidence? I'm at a point in my life, I don't believe in coincidence any longer. And the point that it was specifically Wright-Patterson who had received such wreckage from Roswell, again, is more than coincidental. So that's the memory material. That's the type of, again, physical evidence that we would call an immediate press conference, and right before your eyes, reporters would watch every time as we would crumble and open our hand, and it would just flow like water between our fingers. Now, wouldn't that be something? And that's why we were continuously on the hunt for such physical proof.
That is amazing. Someone in the chat room keeps talking about element 115. Do you know anything about this?
Well, you're talking about specifically, I don't really get into that because that's something I leave the nuclear physicist stand for reason.
Oh, okay.
So I plead ignorance on that. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Another question. Well, I have a whole bunch of questions here. Uh, what kind of explosion happened at Roswell? Was it the military that took down the plane because of the radars or the sensors or something that affected the UFO ship? Is that what happened? And what kind of explosion was it?
We have to keep in mind that entire wave of that summer of 1947. I mean, the entire country was just overwhelmed with all these flying disc reports. That the military was on a 24-hour standby and with hopes of trying to identify what these craft were. Something truly invading our airspace, and nobody had any answers. That was the really astounding thing, because it's immediately after World War II. So the military, security is still at a peak in that regard. And there was a lot of sightings in New Mexico. I had described at the beginning all of the military research, testing, all of the personnel who were stationed there at that time. And I know it's often speculated as to what may have brought down this craft, what had caused it to explode. And we can document that the very night in question, there was a severe thunderstorm, a severe lightning storm in the high desert region. And when I talk about high desert, you're talking about when the lightning strikes, it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about just a tremendous amount of lightning. And there had been a sighting earlier that afternoon of an unknown object moving towards the northwest from Roswell. In fact, it even made the newspaper the next day. A husband and wife by the name of Daniel Wilmot. And it's our belief, based on all the eyewitness accounts, that what caused this object to have a mid-air explosion. And in fact, by the pattern by which the wreckage spread out over that one site, about 3/4 of a mile long, it was fan-shaped. In other words, it fanned out for that long a distance. That in itself would suggest a mid-air explosion. It broke up, raining all that debris down to the ground. And whether it was a direct strike from a bolt of lightning or some type of internal malfunction, something caused it to explode. And to date, we have nothing that would suggest that it was shot down, that radar had any effect on it, that it was anything that we did. It appears that it was either something internal or something even from Mother Nature.
Now, when this crash happened, the military was called over there, and from what I understand, afterwards the military came in, and when the military came in, they silenced everyone and they took the bodies to Wright-Patterson. Are there any people that are willing to speak about it now, or are they all dead?
They are almost all deceased. That is the saddest part of this investigation. That through the course of all these years, I often comment that every time I return back to New Mexico, it's sad. It's actually, it gets lonelier every time in realizing that this person just passed away, or this person's wife, who we knew, just passed away. And we're also reaching a point that even the children now are starting to pass on. And the concern that within the next 5 years, just about every one of them will be gone. And so we've been fortunate enough. We've had civilian and military eyewitnesses to the bodies recovered. We've had military who were involved in the transporting of the bodies from the crash site back to the base hospital. We've had witnesses at the hospital. We've had witnesses in a specific B-29 hangar called Building 84. and then the actual transporting, the flights. There were two specific flights which transported the bodies from the facility in Roswell. And I can name you the pilots, the co-pilots, and the crewmen on each of those flights. So we're able to, and that's the wonderful thing about this investigation, in that we're getting very little as far as contradiction. We're able to plug them in as far as, like, this one drove this ambulance truck, and this one was posted inside this truck, and this one drove this flatbed trailer truck, and this one piloted this plane, and this one was the bombardier on the plane, and this one was the navigator, and this one worked at the hospital, and this one was an MP at the hangar, and on and on and on. Nobody is saying, no, that wasn't you, that was me. Or they're not, none of them have ever argued, with us that, well, I don't care, I was the one who piloted the plane. That, again, it's as though they're all reading from the same script, as though they've been handed a movie script, and this is your role, this is your part, this is what you're acting on. Well, we know that's ridiculous. But the point is, the only alternative is that they're all repeating exactly what happened, what they experienced, what they saw, what they held in their hands. And from starting out initially as a total skeptic, I can now say I'm 99% convinced that all these people just can't be lying. They're all telling me that this was something extraordinary, and they're all telling us that what actually crashed back outside of Roswell in 1947 was something not made on this planet.
Okay, the thing is, it's like, where are these bodies now? Are there any living ones anywhere in the base, or are they all dead and are under ice?
We have had both first-hand military and civilian testify to the effect that there was a lone survivor, and we can account for it at Wright-Patterson through April of 1948, and that's specifically from Colonel Marion Magruder, who was a member of the War College, the class of 47-48, and they were assigned to Wright-Patterson in April of 1948, and before he died in 1995, he confessed separately to his four sons that they were brought in to Wright-Patterson at that time, and they were allowed to see the survivor from Roswell. In fact, they were told specifically that it was the survivor from Roswell. We've had numerous accounts of, as far as bodies at Wright-Pat through the 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, and the latest information we've had is that we have good reason to believe that presently at least one of the bodies may be at Dugway in Utah, which is the biological military facility, which would make perfect sense. And we have 3 witnesses to that effect. So we're going to start focusing even on that military facility in the future.
I have a question here from one of my listeners. He says, what do you think about the ancient aliens theory?
I know both Eric Von Daniken and Giorgio from Ancient Aliens very well. In fact, I was just with them in California a month ago. And I'm one of the people that as a young boy, I became totally fascinated watching that first program, that first documentary, which was narrated, which was hosted by the late Rod Serling, Twilight Zone fan, and it was entitled In Search of Ancient Astronauts, where Eric Von Daniken's theory of, the whole ancient astronaut speculation as to the planes of Mascon, Great Pyramid, and as far as the Mayan pyramid, and the ancient relics and artifacts and cave illustrations, paintings, statues, and so on, all aspects of alien, or I should say extraterrestrial intervention at times. In other words, we've had help that through the centuries, for thousands of years, that at times we had, a higher intelligence step in and show us how to move on to the next phase in our own growth, our own education. And so I became fascinated as far as with von Däniken's first book, Chariots of the Gods, but it kind of faded after that, because as much as it generated an interest in proving that we had been visited, I became much more involved as I became an adult, and then started working with Dr. Hynek and investigating cases in the present, in the contemporary, that as much as we could prove we have been visited, I still felt the greater need that we prove we are being visited, that it is something that is interacting with our planet today. And that's why I find it all the more incumbent on my part and my colleagues, as well as I find it all the more fascinating that we can prove that we still are of interest enough that some other intelligence would go out of their way to visit this planet on a regular basis. If we're dealing strictly with ancient astronauts, and one of the unfortunate giveaways that the skeptics might even lean toward, well, they were here 1,000 years ago. Maybe they visited the planet 1,000 years ago, but they haven't been back since. Well, that's where we come in. That's where I come in. Well, I'm trying to prove that we are being visited today. And with Roswell, we feel that with both physical evidence, both materials and remains, that it still remains the granddaddy of all UFO cases. And if we prove Roswell, not only do we prove the existence of life elsewhere, but we also demonstrate that if we were visited back in 1947, we have every reason to believe that we've been visited for thousands of years before. And the ancient astronaut theory would fall right into place as well.
Was the antimatter bomb created at Area 51? Do you know anything about this?
This is, you had asked me earlier about Element 15. And, and I know that the whole concept of, gravity, warp drive, and the idea of, maximum theoretical atomic mass, isotope of Element 15, and whether it could be created or not. And I can assure your listeners that immediately after that first detonation at Trinity in New Mexico in June of 1945, that was just the beginning, that they immediately, not only went as far as into a race with the Soviet Union at that time. That was the cause of the Cold War. The idea that we were that many years ahead of the Russians already in the deployment and the development of atomic energy. But they also, it quickly went into a race, which branch of the military would be able to develop the propulsion first. And I'm talking about atomic propulsion. And we might ask, well, how come we don't fly atomic rockets? How come we don't have atomic aircraft? Well, they did experiment with that. In fact, it's interesting to note that they had aircraft with atomic reactors that flew between Roswell, of all places, and Fort Worth, Texas, Carswell Army Airfield, or more specifically, Carswell Air Force Base, through the early 50s. So we had this race. Who was going to develop the propulsion? Well, the only branch of the military that uses atomic propulsion that I'm aware of is the Navy, because it's the only place that within the bodies of water, in other words, the oceans, that is considered safe enough that it wouldn't be an immediate threat to any people. Whereas, just imagine if we had atomic aircraft flying throughout, our airspace, and at any time that a plane could potentially crash, you have an atomic disaster of sorts. So you had all that research going on, but at the same time, as influenced by the UFO technology, there was an attempt to develop not only antimatter, but also anti-gravity devices. They were experimenting right after World War II with all types of psychic phenomena. ESP, we found all types of documents in 1948 that they were experimenting with mind control and the idea that we could essentially cause an opposing army to lay down their weapons just by projecting, mind control over all the battlefield participants. So I think World War II freed up a lot of original theory and thought, but it also may have been inspired not only by the arrival of the UFO phenomena, but also more specifically what was recovered at Roswell. And I know it's a long response to the question, but one of the things that the scientists involved in UFO studies quickly derived from the UFO phenomena was that they appeared to be propulsion by electromagnetism, free energy. In other words, it would just draw electricity, current right out of the air. And as a result, we have hundreds of electromagnetic cases where UFOs are in close proximity to planes and automobiles, and when these objects are within close view, how often these vehicles lose power. Their engines stall. They lose their lights, their radio equipment, what have you. Hundreds of such cases. So that too demonstrates an electromagnetic field used as a propulsion for these unknown craft. And then we're talking anti-gravity. And the simplest test a person can do is take something as simple as a balloon, blow up a balloon, and then rub it on the hairs on your arm briskly. And then the balloon you can pull out and it will stick to the wall because you've created a static charge.
Right.
You created a static charge of electromagnetism. That balloon will hang there. It will float there. It will repel gravity for a few moments. And that's how simple the principle is. And UFOs have been able to, as far as the intelligence behind the UFO phenomenon, has been able to uncover the secrets to such technology. And we've been working on it ever since. We've been working on it now for probably 70, 75 years. And I think we're getting closer. I think even as we have vertical takeoff craft and hovercraft and so on, and even the drone technology is demonstrating that we are getting closer and closer to such anti-gravity-like devices. But were we influenced by the UFO phenomena, what was recovered at Roswell, or is it part of our natural progression of technology through the years? I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see what breakthroughs are forthcoming.
Well, Roswell is one of the most Roswell is one of the most famous UFO bases. Have you ever heard of other bases like the Dulce base in New Mexico?
Oh yes, in fact, our very first trip to New Mexico in February of 1989. One of our newfound colleagues in Albuquerque immediately mentioned Dulce to us. And I think it was only because we were focused on Roswell. And as skeptics, we were hoping to make it a single weekend, trip, and Dulce just became an afterthought. And Dulce even goes back to the theories and the stories of late Paul Benowitz worked with the Area Phenomena Research Organization, and his claim that there were all types of UFO traffic, all types of sightings around that facility. And it led to all types of speculation and the connection to Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, and then the discrediting of Benowitz, which may have been more of an effort to discredit Dulce. But I know that there have been documentaries. I know that there's still all types of rumor and gossip as to what's going on at Dulce. But again, nothing documented, nothing photographed, no witnesses. Unlike 51 and more, more to as far as my investigation, unlike Wright-Patterson, where we do have first-hand witnesses, we do have whistleblowers, we have people who were, inside working those facilities. I've yet to hear of anybody who was at Dulce who has ever come out and said that this is what I witnessed, this is what I know is going on at this mountain, fortress through all these years. I'd be fascinated. I would be open-minded, because if I accept Roswell, I have to accept that everything else is possible. And given the nature of the history of New Mexico, if Dulce would turn out to be something related to some degree to the UFO phenomena, I would not be surprised.
Well, they say there's Nightmare Hall and there's genetic experiments between humans and aliens. Have you heard about this at Dulce Base, or is this happening maybe at Area 51?
I've heard, in fact, I've heard such talk from so-called or supposed inside people talking about underground bases, and even more and more people who have expanded their thinking on the entire abduction phenomenon, the idea that maybe it's our government experimenting with us under the guise of alien, abductors, using us for hybrid experimentation and implants and monitoring our daily activity. When in reality, what if it's just our government? What if it's just people who, again, are experimenting with us? As horrid, as horrendous as we've always accused other countries, specifically Germany and then Russia and even Japan and North Korea, conducting biological experiments on people throughout history. The United States has also had its share of such research. Mary Shelley's, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein novel is not so far from the truth, because I think you find that many people would claim that our own government has been experimenting with its own people for years, and certainly not publicly, and most likely in the underground chambers of some of these facilities, and one of them may be Dulce, where they're actually conducting such experiments. They remain secret, and I think it's another reason that they try to paint this impression that anybody who speaks about UFOs seriously is not to be trusted, not to be believed. They made it into such a taboo topic. Wouldn't that be something that the reason that they so discredited the entire subject of UFOs was just to protect their own activity? The fact that as they themselves have been conducting all types of research and experimentation under the guise of, now we talk about 51. How many years did the Air Force deny 51 existed?
Many years.
Well, for 50 years they denied it. And then they allowed UFO aficionados to paint this smokescreen impression that, well, it was a UFO base, that they were actually experimenting with captured, crashed UFOs during all that time. So they put out they create these UFO smokescreens. And I personally would tend to believe that UFOs have nothing to do with it. It's just covering up their own nefarious activity that they just don't want to get caught. And obviously, as you can tell, I don't trust the government. I proved that with what they did to the witnesses at Roswell, that they resorted to such extreme measures, even threatening to kill children over what they still maintain was nothing more than a weather balloon device. And when our government can do that, under the guise of freedom and liberty, then nobody is safe, because they'll come right into your house, your homes, as they did at Roswell. And we're all expendable. And for that reason, I guess they would have no qualms at using any one of us to be a guinea pig, you know, to conduct their experiments, like Dr. Frankenstein, if they deemed that the experiment was that important.
Oh yeah, I have many books on Dulce Bates. But moving along, you've been doing this for many years of investigations. Have you ever run into any trouble, like with such people like the Men in Black, the MIB?
One of the things we decided on at the Center for UFO Studies at the very start of our Roswell inquiry was we were going to treat it as though it was the real thing. We weren't going to be a bunch of, you know, bumbling, you know, lay or amateur investigators just seeing where it took us. No, we were going to anticipate the unlikely, the unknown. And one of the ways we would do that is we would shine as much light on the investigation as possible. We weren't going to work behind the scenes. We were going to write the books. We were going to present papers and reports. We were going to present the witnesses. We were going to name names. Our books are just full of hundreds and hundreds of names. And there's power in as far as in quantity. There's power and protection when you stand as a group, as opposed to someone who is hiding in the shadows, you know, just praying that nobody will ever find them and threaten or hurt them in any way. So I think by handling the investigation in this manner, we not only have protected ourselves, but especially the people working with us, and certainly vis-a-vis the witnesses. I can tell you, though, we have had many a witness, especially as evidenced in our new book, The Children of Roswell. And the families talking about, you know, 30, 40, 50 years of intimidation and threatening phone calls and visits to their homes and warning them not to say another word about what happened in Roswell in 1947. And you better keep your mouth shut and never talk about this again. All stemming from the original threats that took place immediately after the incident. So I haven't had any problems. I know we're being watched. I've had reasons to believe that on a number of occasions. But as we stated at a press conference in Chicago back in 1991, that they know where we are. They can come and visit us anytime they want, but they better send their best, because that's what it will take.
Now, do you believe anything like they come from another planet, or do you think they come from another dimension? These beings,
even from another dimension, would still make them extraterrestrial. Would still make them off our planet. I entertain in loose company all types of such theory, whether parallel universe or you mentioned interdimensional, even time travel. But I leave that again to the astronomers and the physicists and even the futurists to make such speculation. As Dr. Hynek would tell us, I'm investigating the properties of this phenomenon, and I'm looking at strictly through the nuts and bolts aspect of it, I'm trying to prove the hardware, the physicality of it. Something that you can go across the street, kick the tires, and there it is. So it limits my scope in that it's like investigating the ultimate cold case file, something that's now happened almost 70 years ago, and we're still working on this, and still we're racing with the Undertaker, as we say, with greater and greater intensity. But as to where they're from and who they are, I still remain convinced that that's the reason behind the cover-up. In other words, the reason that our government still refuses to disclose the truth of the UFO phenomenon is due to a cover-up of ignorance, that they too still don't know from where, from why, or from who. So what do they disclose? What do they announce? We have the physical evidence. We know we're being visited, but that's all we know. And as of 2016, I, for one, still believe that the government is in the same shoes as the rest of us. The phenomena exists, but that's all we know. We have no other answers.
Now, with the presidential elections coming, Hillary Clinton said that if she gets elected, she will divulge the information or send a task force to Area 51. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I believe this is certainly a continuation on two fronts. For anybody who's a student or involved in UFO research would remember the Lawrence Rockefeller initiative dating back to the mid-1990s. And the plan, the hope at that time that with special funding from Lawrence Rockefeller that we might be able to pry open the UFO files. And Bill Clinton himself was initially invited to be part of this initiative. There's even a famous picture now of Hillary walking at the Rockefeller compound, and in her handbag is a UFO book. The last time Bill Clinton was on the Jimmy Kimmel show, this is what they talked about. They talked about Roswell. They talked about Area 51. And then we certainly have John Podesta, who is managing Hillary's campaign and commenting repeatedly his own frustration in securing any information regarding the UFO phenomenon. So I'm patiently optimistic, but then again, I also have to accept reality that I don't foresee that anything's going to happen in my lifetime. I mean, I hope I still have a good 40 years left. Nonetheless, each and every time, and I can go back to Dr. Hynek with the Gerald Ford administration. I can go back to the Carter administration, even the Reagan administration, and all of the failed attempts at disclosure, that Dr. Hynek would be notified that something was going to break, that Washington was going to make an announcement, and WGN in Chicago, the super station, would nab him to make sure that he was at the studio at the ready, and with such an amazing announcement would be forthcoming that he would be right there and offer his own personal reflection and commentary. And because it's never happened before, I see that, if anything, the government has nailed the lid down even tighter. I don't see any testing. I don't see any little trial balloons any longer. All one need do is talk to any government official about UFOs, and you see how quickly they suggest that you need to be put into a padded room, in a straitjacket, and they throw the key away. Such has been the brainwashing, the propaganda, the discrediting of the subject. And I don't see anything that's going to turn that around anytime soon. I'm sorry to be, again, that pessimistic about it, but if Hillary or anyone else is able to do it, they should do it now. I mean, your own husband couldn't do it. And he had 8 years in the Oval Office. I just really don't see what has changed, that it's going to happen just with a new face with somebody else.
Do you believe that there are alien hybrids walking among us, or is this something that you just don't know too much about because you didn't research it well enough to answer it?
No, prior to Roswell, we were working on predominantly missing time cases, as I call them. I don't call them abduction cases because there could be many alternative solutions as to what took place with the individual during such an event. But as close as I worked with late Bud Hopkins, I knew John Mack very well. I know Dr. David Jacobs, formerly of Temple University, who now has assumed all of the files, all the research from both Hopkins and John Mack. And I'm concerned that nobody's going to follow in Dave Jacobs' wake, that after Dave, either retires or passes on, that there really is nobody that's going to assume that mantle as far as dealing with these so-called abduction accounts. But let's just accept that if any one of them are true, and this whole notion of the creation of a hybrid race, and Dr. Jacobs is convinced of that. In fact, he's convinced that there has been a total infiltration, that from the highest levels of government and corporation and education, that we do have hybrids that are living amongst us. And again, I have to accept that if I believe that Roswell happened, that it was a crash of a craft manufactured on another planet, then I certainly have to accept that the possibility of hybrids, of people who resemble, who look just like us, may be walking our streets and we couldn't tell any difference. We wouldn't recognize them or looking anything different than we do. Again, I just would need proof. I need a medical report. I need x-rays. I need something that shows me that this is, a mixture. This is a cross. This is, a hybridization of two different species. And then there would be the problem, how do you crossbreed two separate species if the DNA doesn't link up, if it isn't connected? So then the theory would come, well, maybe it is us. Maybe they're time travelers from the future coming back, that type of thing. And that's how they're related. So there are many variables. We have to take that all into consideration. But the idea that there could be such beings, living amongst us, I won't say no.
Do you also it's as if they're getting the public ready for some kind of alien announcement with all the movies, the TV shows, and movies that Independence Day. What's your thinking on this?
Well, but look at Independence Day. Look at the first one and then the sequel.
Yeah.
They're hardly benevolent space beings, are they? I mean, it's hardly the way to prepare us, with the thought of constantly showing aliens as the aggressor, as the invaders, as the warmongers who are here to destroy us and take over our planet. That hardly prepares us to accept that we're being visited by benevolent space brothers who are here to help us. I know it was questioned at the time, even back in the 70s, late 70s, with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then a number of years thereafter with the movie E.T. Well, that was mainly through the eyes and the imagination of Steven Spielberg, who in so many of his movies he portrays young people, children. Children are the stars of many of his movies, and as a result, their interaction with grown-ups, and in those two movies, Close Encounters and E.T., well, their connection, their interaction with even beings from another planet. So Hollywood is a mixed bag because they're either showing aliens as monsters or they're showing them as playful little beings, as far as in the movie E.T. And so I would say Hollywood is hardly a barometer in suggesting that the government or anybody is trying to prepare us. I would like to believe, though, that because the UFO researchers have long presented this subject as something that warrants scientific investigation, that this is something that is not only physical, that it is something that is genuine and interacting as far as with not only the populations of this planet, but most likely even others. The fact that we are not alone within, our galaxy, within our universe, that we may, there may be literally, hundreds and thousands of inhabited planets throughout the universe, that we're the ones that have been in the forefront. We're the ones that have even brought it to the attention of presidents of the United States, of foreign leaders, of the press, of the entertainment field. I mean, always keep in mind that prior to Roswell, flying saucers, or as I should say, spaceships from another planet were depicted as rockets. And immediately after Roswell, it's when they first became flying saucers. And since then, UFOs are flying saucers. So Hollywood copies. Hollywood, always reflects reality. And the thought that that somehow the government or the entertainment industry is trying to prepare the world for an inevitable disclosure of any sort. I don't think they care. I don't think that the government officials are in the business of staying government officials, of getting reelected, of staying in their power and their control. And I don't think they really care what we think.
Yeah, that's for sure. They don't seem like they don't care about us anyhow, with everything that's going on. In closing, would you like to tell us anything about your website, anything that you're working on, or any information that you may want to tell us?
So the new book that is out, I had mentioned briefly,
yes.
Children of Roswell, deals with the families, deals with all the children who were involved back at the time of the incident, and then were subjected to all the threats and the fear and intimidation by our government. And it should be something very discerning, very disheartening to any parent, anyone in this country, the very thought that our own government, in total violation of our Constitution, would use the military in any way to harm its own population. Our museum in Roswell is an international attraction. We draw about 200,000 people a year. We're now gearing up for the 70th anniversary, which will be 4th of July weekend of next July. It's going to be a tremendous celebration with a lot of the most famous UFO researchers in the world, as well as people from celebrities from Hollywood to commemorate this event. We're also planning on another archaeological dig, which we're gearing up for this fall. And I want to assure all your listeners that as long as there still is the possibility of finding some physical evidence, and as long as there may be any final witnesses to what transpired back in Roswell in July of 1947, we are still going to find them. We're still going to provide them with an opportunity to speak out, and like all the others, tell the world that it did happen, that Roswell indeed was the crash of a craft of unknown origin. And as Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer at Roswell, said, it was nothing made on this earth.
Well, that was a great show. We had a good interview we had, and we want to thank you for coming on our MnRTV Live Show. And this show will be recorded, and I'll be posted up on our website, and I'll send you a link when it's up. So thank you very much for coming on our show, Donald.
It was great. I enjoyed it myself. Again sometime.
We will definitely do it again sometime. All right, so have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was that was great. That was Donald Schmitt inside the real Area 51, and what a great show of information. I mean, wow. I mean, imagine next year, the 70th anniversary of Roswell. Imagine going there. We definitely should be thinking about going there. I would love to go there.
Yeah, we should definitely make it a trip, if we can, if nobody stops us. But I'm happy we had him on. Wow, a lot of
Exactly.
information, and I hope we get him on again soon, sometime. Right? He's always
Exactly.
welcome.
Exactly. And it's an amazing show. We hope you guys enjoyed the show, and hopefully all your questions were answered. And if not, well, we'll get him back again next time. That's it. So I guess that's it for this week. Any final thoughts, Mario?
I'm glad we pulled it through, with this heat and the technology lasted. I'm happy. I'm happy it went through smoothly. Yeah, there was a few things here and there, but it's okay. It happens. Nothing's perfect, but we manage it through. So we'll be back soon. Well, I don't know when. Hopefully soon we'll be here.
Exactly.
Hopefully you'll
We'll
join
let you
us.
guys know. So we'll keep you posted with our posts, and we'll be back. So that's it for this week, and God bless you all, and thank you for watching the MnRTV Live Show with the Madman and the Wild Child here, signing out from the mothership. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a good one. All right. Thank you. Bye.